That's a great segue into the final thing that we're going to talk about, and that is customers. Um, Now, we've picked up a bunch of customers this year, all different sectors. Really interesting to understand their challenges and to work with them. I think one of the things that I've noticed is that um, we're very conscious that we continually adjust and refine the outreach process and the things that we're doing on behalf of those customers. So we recognise right up front that we're learning as we work with that customer and work with their prospect list, the messaging, and so on. And there it isn't a case of just it working from day dot, but continuous refinement. And as a result of that, I've seen quite revolutionary changes in the approach over the course of the year that have really been beneficial for the customers. And I wondered if you guys wanted to talk about some of those. I think Ben, there's a couple of customers you work with. You don't need to name names, so any of our customers that are listening, don't worry. This is all confidential. But just talk about some situations where we've kind of stepped in partway through, I guess, the contract and being able to really adjust things based upon the learnings that we've had so far.
Yeah, sure. So I think the types of businesses we work with are a lot of software, but we're now expanding out into more broader B2B service or product suppliers. The biggest learning I've seen is, well, there's two angles really. It's what we're doing for the client, so with the software, with the messaging, with the audience, how we approach, what the channels are, the timing, the way we actually engage people in conversation to get them to a qualified meeting. So there's what we're doing in terms of learning, but I also think there's a very large part of what our clients are doing in terms of learning. And as a business owner, I know what I think is best for me and my business. And actually, when we started out, we proved that our first hypothesis was incorrect. And it's important that we're doing this for our clients. So you might go to a lead gen agency and say, this is my persona, this is the messaging, just go do it because you know how to do it. But actually, without that insight, without that test, learn, iterate, you're not going to evolve to understand what is really required. So there's a very large company we work with who launched a new product and wanted to build an SDR solution. We went out there and executed against their strategy and proved that it was incorrect. And actually, because it was a really hard market to crack, the conversations that we were having with the insights, with the adaptability, with the conversations that we were gleaning, we proved that it wasn't right. It wasn't fit to take that route to market. And so as much as we are trying to generate conversations, it's actually a responsibility to generate insight and feedback and adapt accordingly. And in doing so, we've been able to shift to different markets, different personas within those markets, different messaging, and generate engagement and further insight. And that insight, especially if you're an early stage business, informs everything from what's going on your website, your marketing, your product. And it's really crucial to be collating that, not just going after the leads. So that was one where we disproved a theory. Now, for someone who's been in sales for 20 plus years, obviously I want to see positive sales outcomes, but that actually was probably a very, very high return on investment project because it saved the client going down X amount of months down the wrong route, knocking at doors that were never going to open. So that actually, in my opinion, did prove a good return on investment. Then we've got smaller organizations where founders are domain experts, right? They don't necessarily know how to take a product to market, want us to do it. And the reason they're engaging with us is because we are definitely embedding into their business rather than just being that arm's length service provider. And what are we doing here is we're actually saying your services are great, the market's ideal, but they're not responding to this, that, and the other. We've booked a bunch of meetings, and the meetings that were booked through this messaging and this channel and this element of a sequence, and therefore scale that. Okay, we can now start to increase what that looks like. We've been booking meetings across the FTSE 100 really easily, and that's because we've got well-timed messages for the right persona. So not going out and hitting 5,000 emails in the hope that you might get 100 engagements, in the hope that you might get 10 meetings. Quick way to burn your reputation. But going after the FTSE 100, unsurprisingly, personas, there's only 100 of them. So really specific, targeted messages at the right time of the year for the right reasons, and getting a hell of a lot of meetings. And that was really exciting, and being able to share precision tactics with the client rather than let's just put a lot out there and see what comes back. And I guess the higher volume audiences as well, we are again seeing which channels are working. So we've actually wound down a lot of email outreach and LinkedIn work and ramped up phone-based work, because these are the markets that are at the end of their phone. They do answer because they're commercially focused people, and it's the quickest way to get a conversation and an internal referral rather than putting a whole bunch of email out there. So if you can take anything from that bit of verbiage, it's about there is no one size fits all. All channels are different, and because we campaign manage every single thing, we can quickly dial up and dial down the channels, the tactics, the conversation, the narrative, and the way we present our clients to the world. So it's a hell of a lot of learning. And having been a sales leader in individual businesses before, you've got one brand and one audience to worry about. Now we're dealing with multiple, which is really exciting because we can then take those learnings, apply it to our own businesses and our clients, and share that insight in a far broader environment.
Thanks. And then Sara, I guess your interface with the customers comes at the point that we're onboarding them, and there's a lot of work going into that. Is that something you could talk about?
Yeah, I think just to iterate a lot of what Ben said there, I think really where we add value in the mindset, I guess, that we want in terms of the customers we're engaging with is seeing us as a team, not just someone separate sorting out their sales and hoping it's going to work. So a lot of it in terms of how we build that is part of the onboarding as well. So I'm going to talk particularly about the SDRs because the people element, if they're on the pro account, is really important. And we talk both to the clients as well as to the SDR about, look, this is a really unique relationship. Yes, you're in this office, but you're working with this client. And how can you actually, again, build the right communication channels so they've got another resource that they can lean on, particularly around product knowledge. So we understand with our clients, they're coming to us because they haven't normally got the time to be looking after an SDR the full time. But if we can create the right sort of interactions and channels, actually they've got another pillar that they can lean on to get additional resources. And we've seen that work really well with clients who even an hour every week is a really focused time with that SDR to work through some very audience or industry specific questions that are coming up on calls, to role play, to get additional resources. That insight is getting pulled into the team. Like Ben said, also, this is also not just about sales, right? This goes, any insights we're bringing in impacts, their marketing team, impacts their general strategy. And also likewise is a channel for that SDR to get additional knowledge to go more quickly, more powerfully to that next call, to the next element. So we really see ourselves as a full team, that we just don't happen to be in their office, and that's what they get, everything from built capacity, additional insights, that strategic piece, and we're always pulling that back in and sharing that with the client as well. So Ben also mentioned kind of campaign management, and we are reviewing that on a daily basis. SDRs are looking at that, making decisions. On a weekly basis, we're reflecting on it. We're looking at a campaign every 2 weeks. What are the key things that are coming up? Does anything need to be shifted? And that's always getting fed back to the client as well. So there's constantly a communication channel open there. They're not just, okay, are we getting conversations, are we not, and what else is happening? The whole picture is very transparent, and we're part of that team, helping them make decisions in those meetings. We're discussing strategy and making decisions together, not just doing that separately, or not expecting them to make those decisions without the data as